Al, tell us about your charter and kind of what you do.
Well, I have two charter boats, Rainmaker 4, Rainmaker 5. This will be unfortunately, my 38th year.
Wow.
I've been, my 19th birthday, I got my captain's license and been rolling ever since.
Wow.
So, and then I grew up on the lake. My parents literally 50 yards from the lake. And so pretty much been fishing Lake Michigan my whole life. So.
All right. You've been doing this since you're 19 years old. Mm-hmm. Are you out of Winthrop Harbor here?
Kenosha.
Kenosha. All right.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, we got somebody else, another port to talk about. Tell us about how Kenosha sets up. What's that like up there?
I think personally, probably one of the top ports on the lake. No, I'm not taking it away from anybody else, but I think North Point, Kenosha, Racine, Milwaukee, I think you get that little stretch of 40 miles or whatever, I don't think you can beat us for consistency. I know other ports catch more kings at times and stuff like that, but if you want numbers, and it's proven by the DNR, I mean, our numbers are always the highest. We just have I think we have a good base from the spring all the way through the summer and then into the fall. Mm-hmm. I think our fishing stays pretty consistent.
Tell me about the structure out of Kenosha.
Well, we have a hill. We call the hill. It's a drop off from like 55 to 110. And then from there, it's pretty flat going out, pretty flat drop off. You get up north towards Racine, you have a series of hills. Racine is 8 miles from port to port. And there's more structure as you get up there. You have what we call the honey hole and places inside the hill. And then there's a series of 3 hills. There's jogs that go in and out off the hills up there. I like fishing. I probably fish 75% of my time up to the north. Mm-hmm. I just think, that's just me. And plus I have good friends up there also do, work a lot of information. And I think the king fishing up there is more consistent and better when you get to the north. I just think because of the structure and the way it sets up, but I'll get up, anywhere we call it 3,800, 3,900, 40. To me, that's the best area on the hill. 3,950 to 4,100. I don't think there's a better spot on the hill when the kings are there.
Very good. Tell me a little bit how the year sets up. What are the seasonalities like on Kenosha?
This year, I didn't start early. I had my hip replaced 6 weeks ago, so I was kind of lagging behind some of the captains. But this year, they actually started on the beach, 15 to 30 foot of water. It was kind of like the old days. You go out, 30 fish in a couple hours. That's how the old days were. You'd come out of the harbor, set up, you'd make a pass down, make a pass back, and you had your fish. That's kind of how it's set up. Now, the last couple of weeks, it's slowed up a little bit. Now we're fishing out in the deeper. I've been fishing out in the deeper water, anywhere from we were fishing 120 to 150. Now we're 150 to 180. Now we've been outside of 200. Now I haven't fished in a couple of days, so I don't know what's happened in the last couple of days. But getting a mixed bag, cohos, getting some kings. There were some kings on the hill, not a lot. My best trip has been 4 kings, some steelhead, and then the trout seem to be there when you want to fish them. The lake trout. I did fish them one day on the bottom. My guys wanted to fish trout, and we caught 4 or 5 trout in a couple hours, and I wasn't working them that hard. So I don't think there's a big number of them on the bottom, but and the cohos are. It's just, honestly, so fishing on them. They're small for some reason this year. I don't know if it's this, they couldn't find bait this winter, or they weren't on the bait, or I don't know what's going on, but they're probably 1 pound to 2 pounds smaller than normal.
Yeah. So I've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
On the side from a couple different places.
And I don't know. When I was down in the harbor, we had the normal bait in the harbor spawning. It's been that way for 50 years, and it seemed to appear to be a lot of bait come out of the harbor. The graph is full of bait. Everything's, but I don't know why the fish are smaller, where they stock later. I don't know, but they're definitely, and then some of the fish you're catching in the deep water, they're eating bugs and they're starting to get on the alewives. You can tell they're starting to get on the alewives. So maybe they're just lagging behind a little bit. I don't think there's a lack of bait fish. I think it's just that they're just getting on it, so.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird season the way we didn't have that really super cold winter,
right?
But it seemed like winter didn't want to give up.
No.
So I don't know if maybe the alewives are just a little behind in getting
and that
finished up.
That could be. My captain that works for me, Dion, went out a couple of weeks ago, and we were catching alewives for meat rigs. He cures them, and we do that way. We use them for meat rigs, and him and my son caught as many as they wanted, no problem.
Right.
So it wasn't like they were, what I mean? They were thick in there, so.
And let's talk about that, because that's something that people do, but it's not something that I hear a lot. That's something I've heard a lot about tonight is people running meat rigs. Tell me about how you run your meat and why you like it.
I don't run meat rigs a lot, to be honest with you. Okay. I fish tournaments and I run them in tournaments because I believe that, if you're looking for that one big king or two big kings, they work. I mean, don't get me wrong. I fool around with it on charters, but I fish Sturgeon Bay up there for Salmon now in the KD tournament up there. So I'm up there for 2.5, 3 weeks and we have a meat rig out all the time. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to it. I don't think a lot of guys on this side of the lake know how to fish meat rigs like they do on the other side. And I'm just because there's guys over there that run 7, 8 meat rigs on their boats. There's a lot to bending the head and heating the head and spin, getting the head to spin right. If it's spinning too fast, that's no good. If it's spinning too slow, that's no good. It's kind of tricky to it. I mean, I don't think I've mastered it as good as a lot of people, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But they do catch fish. Caleb Zorn, who fishes with me, we when we fish tournaments together, him and Dion, it's always like, well, we got to get a meat rig down. Why let them handle it? Right. I think they work good on the bottom. Mm-hmm. I put them on the bottom for lake trout once in a while. When we can't get anything else to get bit, I'll throw a meat rig on the bottom, and sometimes that meat rig will work good. I don't know if they can smell it, it gets them excited. No, I'm talking about 150 and out. The 250 to out past. I don't like to get on the bottom outside of 250 because it's hard to get down there. Yeah. But we will.
How does that affect your troll? Are you going faster with a meat rig, slower when you get the meat down? Does it affect what you do?
I troll fast all the time, so I think that's one of the reasons my meat rigs don't work as good.
Yeah.
Kings and coals swim at 30 miles an hour.
Right.
To go 2 miles an hour, I think is too slow. And if you talk to the guys across the lake right now, I was talking to Dave Engel today from Best Chance, and he told me, he goes, Al, you can't catch the kings unless you're going around 3 miles an hour. And I said, really? I said, Dave, why? I mean, he goes, I don't know what's going on. He goes, I'm telling you, if the speed's too slow, I got to kick it up. Now, I don't think, I use the GPS more than I do anything over the ground because I think it's true. Mm-hmm. I look at my downriver cables. I love my fish hawk. I use my fish hawk more for temperature than I do for speed. Mm-hmm. But I'm always 2.7, 2.8, up to 3 miles an hour. And I run more spin doctors than a lot of people on this side of the lake.
Because you're trolling fast.
I think spin doctors are better at a faster speed. And if you think about it in a 5-hour charter or a 6 or 7 hour tournament, if I'm going a mile an hour faster than the other guy or a half mile an hour, do the math.
Yeah.
It's 3 miles more than the other guy. I have a lot of success with lake trout using spin doctors.
I like having the guys that like to troll fast. I call you guys Ricky Bobbies. Yeah. Ricky Bobby just wants to go fast. Yeah. So I love having the guys on that want to go fast. And you kind of brought it up right there, why you do it. I mean, if you go half mile an hour faster over a 6 hour troll,
and honestly, I bought, my last couple of boats, I have diesel boats. My 36 Tierra that I owned previously was a gas boat, but I could never get it slow enough. And I was like, I got to figure this out, and what Caleb brought up, about the coppers and stuff, about spoons and that, I love Dodgers on deeper coppers. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I run more Dodger fly setups in tournaments because we're looking for kings, and we don't need, 100 fish to hit. We need, specific fish to hit, and it needs to be good sized. And then my shallower coppers, I'm always spoons. Very rarely will I put a Dodger on and Caleb, like Caleb was saying. And different from Caleb is I don't run a lead outside 50 feet of water.
Okay.
I run all coppers. The only time I'll put a lead out is there's a lot of steelhead around. Mm-hmm. I'll put it up, but otherwise it's all coppers. Coppers they're more true. They're more, I'm running the rod to get it down. I don't need, I truly believe after a 10 color lead, when you get 12, 15 color leads, I think they come back up.
Yeah.
You're getting so much line out there, you get a belly in the line and it floats back up.
Right.
And I think a copper is true. And I won't run anything over a 300 copper because I don't want to bring it in. So I don't want my people to bring it in.
Nothing like that 600 going on. Here you go.
Yeah, my first mate even looks at me. He goes, "Nah," but I don't. Everybody else say, "Oh, we got a 450 work." No, you know what? If he's going to bite that 450, he's going to look at a 300. Right. I truly believe that. And I dial in. Like our tournament spread, I think we were talking the last time I did that with Mike and Rob, when I run a tournament, it's 3 riggers, 2 wire dipsies, and 4 boards. we never change from that, unless we're trying to catch a cohort or something and need one more fish, because I truly believe I can get my downriggers and my wire dipsies. I think wire dipsies are the number one rods on the boat for kings. I really do. If you can get them dialed in, I think there's something about the wire, and there's something the way that, it vibrates or something. But I run 4 wires all the time in the summer. I'll run 2 wires deep and I run 2 wires up higher, unless like Caleb said, sometimes I do thin my spread out a little bit, but not very often. It's usually 4, 3, and I'll run 3 boards on the side. That's my summer spread. I'll run a 150, a 200, usually a 300, or a 150, 200, and a 250. So
you talk a little bit about, running tournament versus chartering. Tell us a little bit about that strategy change. Why is it different from a tournament compared to a charter?
Well, tournaments, you can only run 9 rods. So it depends on the tournament. We've had a lot of success. I've been successful in tournaments and my crew's good. One of the things I tell guys a lot of times is information. You have to weed through the information. What's good information? What's bad information? Who's telling you the truth? Who's not? And if you don't think that, me and Arnie fished quite a few tournaments over across the lake. And one of our 2 jobs was Arnie would go get the information. I would clean and get the boat ready. I'd say, go do your captain thing. Go talk to people.
Yeah.
Figure out.
Arnie's good at talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Extracting information.
So, but with the tournaments, it's we go at it. Everybody does different tournaments different. The key thing for tournaments, when you got a 10 fish weigh in, you want 4 big lake trout. Do you go for the lake trout first? Do you go for them after you get a few kings, if you can get kings? Are there kings around? It's just all, it depends. I typically like to fish the kings right away out of the gate. And I truly believe you're gonna get them. You're gonna get a few early, and then don't wait long for the lake trout. Lake trout are huge in tournaments. They're because of the weight. They're having that tournament on the 10th, that if I decide to fish it, I'm going to put a lot of effort into a lake trout. To try to catch 2 big lake trout. And I truly, and then after that, it's just you got to make in tournament. What a lot of guys fail in tournaments is you have to have 10 fish. You want to weigh 10 in most tournaments. You want to have that because you have to have 10 to have a chance. If you go to the scale with 8 and I go there with 10, well, chances are you're not going to make it up. I don't care how much weight you have.
Right.
So our biggest thing is to make sure we get 10. Sometimes we won't shake off a small fish early, even if the fish is good, because you don't want to get down to the crunch time with an hour left and you need 1 or 2 fish.
Right.
So that's kind of the way we look at things.
Very good. You got some questions coming in. Somebody named Al Johnson comes out here and he wants to know, what do you use when you're out in the cold and it's very rainy and windy? I'm guessing he might be kind of jabbing you a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's your son, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Go to bed. Next question.
I won't tell you what his next question is, but here's a question from Scott Garbs, and Scott's been joining us all night long. He says, how do those big 8-inch paddle style flashers do at 3 miles an
hour? They're okay. You think that they're really whipping, and they are. If I'm really cruising, if I'm up there by 3, I'll run more spoons and spin doctors. I don't run the big paddles. I don't run the 10 or 11 inch paddles when I'm going that fast. If we start out in the morning and even on a charter and we're not catching fish, I bump the speed up. Because my theory is I want to cover some water. Typically in the morning in July or August, I'll set up on the hill. I love to fish the hill early to try to catch kings if there are some around. And then we troll off because, like Sarah being from Racine, she can tell you 120 to 140 a lot of times I'll hold kings. And so if we don't get bit in the first 15, 20 minutes, we'll slide off, start going east. And then I'll start changing a little bit. I'll start a lot of times to spin doctors and spoons, and then I'll start changing. If we're going to fish lake trout, I slow down a little bit. If we're getting 6:30 now and we don't want to have a good number of fish, and I know I'm going to have to start fishing lake trout, I'll start slowing down and put more paddles out. Our go-to flies, it's the white hot spot with the lead and glow and frog is our number 1 setup. It's been number 1 for 10 years. If that's our go-to one, the frog, little boy blue. I love Mirage. The crinkle Mirage in dirty water. I love that fly, with yellow beads. And I think what a lot of people miss, and I say this in almost every seminar I do, is watercolor. The watercolor changes every single day. to him in the morning, Dion, what's different? Oh, I don't know. He'd say, I don't know. Look at the water. Yesterday was crystal clear. Today it's chalky. To me, that makes a huge difference. And I don't think people notice that more. They go out every day. They think nothing changes. It changes. I mean, I'm telling you, and it's not so much the wind. It's the currents. We have more current than people realize. Yeah. And I think Dan and Arnie might have talked about that, but it's just more than and just the other day, prime example, the water was clear out in the deep water. Then all of a sudden we go out and Dion says, because man, look at the water, man, did it change? Mm-hmm. And it had the chalky color to it, and we changed it a little bit for coals. It's not much, but I like yellow when the water's dirty, especially on the inside. So
that structure, I'm sure when those currents hit the structure.
Yeah. I think wind point all the way out to 300 feet of water does more with the currents than people realize. Mm-hmm. And there's some good guys out of you talk to Jim Mueller out of Racine and Dustin and these guys, Dustin and me would talk about them currents out in the deep water all the time, mm-hmm. And he made a living out in that deep water, so it's a lot more than we think,
Jared, do you have anything for us?
So when you're going 3 miles an hour, do you need to adjust leader lengths on the 8-inch?
I run. So I'm not as precise as Caleb at 17 and 27, but here to here is my coho flies.
You got a tape measure?
Showing his arm. Yeah.
It's about 18 inches.
About 18,
to be honest with you. My regular flat Dodgers, I'm 24 inches all the time. I never change them. Spin doctors, I do 24, but a lot of times I'll lengthen up to 26. The big paddles, like Caleb was saying, honestly, if we're fishing lake trout, as long as 48 inches. Mm-hmm. My number one setup for lake trout down deep last year was the big kingfisher with a regular frog. I mean, it beat the spinning glow. It was more consistent for me. It was. Mm-hmm. We run them real far back, and we get the big whip weight down there. You know what I mean? So I'll slow down 2.5, 2.6. But if I'm fishing up high and I'm moving. That's just my theory.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to slow down to 2.5, 2.6.
Yeah,
you don't hear that too often.
But I don't run. I mean, and on the bottom, and it's. And I learned this from Dave Engel. I learned that he was kicking our butt with lake trout across the lake. And I said, man, okay, dude, come clean. And he showed me, and it just spin doctor running them different, little longer length and a little bit more. And I'll tell you what, you can move a little faster that way. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's kind of my theory. I mean, a lot of people, and it's hard like up in Sturgeon Bay when I fish up there because you can see guys are going slower and I'm passing. Not all the time. You get some of the littler guys that are cruising along pretty good, but I think I truly, we've all seen it. If you're fishing up, you've seen a bait, you've seen a fish, you're bringing in a lure and all of a sudden that fish comes out of nowhere. Well, how fast is he moving?
Right. Pretty fast.
If you put a camera on a downrigger ball, how many fish look at it before they bite? Mm-hmm. They say 10. Mm-hmm. And then that one, you trick them one. I mean, and that's really what you're doing. You try to trick them, so.
I've seen that when I dropped the camera before, there's 2-3 fish following it. And all of a sudden the one that ate it came from the side.
Yep.
Was not following it.
So, and how many times do you get bit when one fish bites and all of a sudden another rod goes and another rod goes? Well, they get excited. Right. Well, this one goes and this guy will the other one, so I wish it happened all the time like that. But
what about spoons? Do you prefer any spoons over another when you're going fast, like super slims?
I like super slims. I like stingers, Mm-hmm. I mean, I put a little bend in the stinger. I take it out of the package and I just think you get more. I put it in my thumb and I bend the tip a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think it gives it better action. I love moonshines. I mean, I love Pro Kings. I like the regular Oz Pro King, the white Pro King. I like the moonshines. To me, it seems like any day you can get a moonshine to work. Some variation, the blue flounder powder, green flounder powder, dirty toad, whatever. There's a million of them out there. It just seems like when you get dialed in on one, they seem to work pretty good. Mm-hmm. So.
All right, very good, Captain L. Johnson. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming on.
You.
No problem. Wants to know more about you and your charter house.
It's rainmakersportfishing.com, or you can phone or text me at 262-620-2976.
Very good, Captain L. Johnson. Appreciate you coming out.